and welcome to Love Anything Art. Today I have what I hope is a fun little project for you. I'm going to make a cane, and I don't have a ton of practice or skill at this, but I did come up with this idea and I thought it was really cute, and it's quite simple, and I think it is good for beginners for canes like myself, and I hope you enjoy it. I have rolled out some pretty colors that I liked together, and I rolled them out into long, thin snakes. And I am going to also use some white clay. I've just rolled it out into a snake, but we'll kind of play with it and roll it out thinner and just take off pieces. But for the first part of this, you'll need just your white clay into a long, thin snake, and then just kind of manipulate it into a triangle shape. I just am placing it on a flat surface, just my work surface, and then pinching the sides together. And just to make sure I have it at the right height for what I want to do, I'm just taking 3 of my pieces, putting it along one side, and I want a little bit of the white tip of the triangle to show through at the top. So this seems to be a good fit, and I'll just continue making my triangle with my white clay. You can make your edges nice and crisp by placing a tissue blade on one side and kind of pressing both on that side and the other side. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you want your edges to be a little bit more crisp, you can just play with it until you have it looking the way you want. I'm going to take that and cut it down into 4 even length pieces. With one of the sections, I'll start placing my rolled clay onto the side, and then I'll just continue stacking it. I'm going to do 3 on each side. The pattern color doesn't matter, you can do it however you want to. I'm just kind of alternating what color I thought looked good beside each other. So just kind of playing with it like that. You'll need to do the same to the other side. And while I'm doing that, I do want to welcome everybody to my channel. So glad you are here. If you are new, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I do have over 200 videos for you to binge watch. And of course, if you are returning, welcome back. I'm so glad you are here for another fun little project. So we're going to stack basically the triangles on top of each other. I'm going to make one for the top and one for the bottom. Exactly the same, just kind of alternated the colors so it wasn't like a complete mirror image of it. Like I said, you can kind of play around with the colors that you want to choose. Basically, we're going to make an X with this. You just need to stack one on top of the other, just lining it up as best as possible. And originally I wanted to put like a triangle in there, but it didn't really work out. I guess if it was wider and flatter, it would work, and you could make a wider, flatter triangle. But I think I'm just going to take little snakes of clay that I roll out and start filling in the gap until it's completely flush all the way around. It's basically kind of like a little square. I'm going to do that on both sides. I just start in the middle so I can give it a little bit more structure. and then work my way out. Just keep going and building until you have that little crevice filled up. And voila, you have a little colorful dot X. Little fun thing for you. Very simple cane. Like I said, I don't really experiment a whole lot with canes, but I would love to learn. There are some very talented people out there making things. I just don't know if I can quite wrap my head around some of the stuff that they do, but this is simple enough for me. I hope you enjoy it too. And then you can take that and reduce it down just with your fingers and a roller. And just to tidy up the edges and everything and get everything all nice and even, I'm going to wrap it in a thin layer of white clay all the way around. I just did mine side by side. You can completely wrap yours, wrap it however you want to wrap it. And then again, I'll just start to reduce it a little bit. Cutting off the messy ends until I have my pretty design showing. And there you go, nice little simple X. And then this is a really pretty pink color. I've rolled it out super thin. And then I'm going to again wrap that in the clay. And then go ahead and reduce it down just a little bit. I'm not gonna reduce it down too much more. Just a little bit longer. And get rid of the messy ends. And I'll set that aside for now. I'm going to work on the second cane. I'm using that same pink color that I wrapped the previous cane in. I'm just going to roll it out. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just need it to be kind of thick and a little bit long. Just gonna make that a U shape. Cut it directly in half. Make sure it's all nice and smooth. There we go. With each of those halves, I am going to make it into a teardrop shape. You can do this with your fingers or place it on a flat surface to get a nice crisp edge. I'm going to do that with both of them, getting that edge nice and crisp at the bottom and nice and rounded at the top. And place them together, pointy tips together, wider side together, and you have yourself a little easy heart. Cutting down just the sides, both those ends there. Just kind of even it up and make it nice and pretty so you can kind of see the little heart. You can manipulate it and make it as deep of a point as you want, or however you want to make your heart look, kind of lopsided, whatever you want. I'm just placing mine between these two sticks so I have something to rest my clay on, kind of like a little bench for my clay. I've rolled out some white clay. I'm going to cut it down into a thin, long, rectangular piece. You could also use maybe a snake of clay for this, but I don't think you'll get as crisp as a center piece as you will with a flattened piece of clay. And I'm choosing white because that's the outer part of the cane that it's going to be completely wrapped in. So you can choose whatever colors you want to go with your whatever color heart you did in the middle. And then I'm just kind of splitting it apart just a little bit more so I can insert that clay down in there. And you can make your crevice as deep as you want. I don't want mine to be too deep. I don't want it to look like the hearts getting sliced in half or anything, which you could do if you wanted to. And then I've rolled out some white clay. I'm going to put it in those little dips or crevices at the bottom of the heart on each side so that it will keep its shape. And then also that little groove at the top there, I put a piece of white snake clay in there. Just kind of pressing it into place just to make sure I have it in the shape that I want before completely wrapping it in the white clay. You can also take a tool to help press that white clay down into the crevice. But at this point, basically just play with it and come up with whatever you want it to look like. And then I'll fill in the rest of it with white all the way around, making it into a square shape. And then you will need to reduce that down. And I have my 2 canes, and they are about the same thickness. I have a little bit more of the pink though, and that's fine. I do need to make it into 5 even length pieces. And then with the white, I'll make it into 4. And you can basically play with it however you want to. I'm just kind of making it into kind of like a tic-tac-toe grid. So if you want more hearts than X's, you can do that. If you want your hearts to win the little game of tic-tac-toe, you could do that, or the X's, whatever you want. But I just have this kind of laid out how I wanted it to be. You'll need to place them together side by side. I'm doing mine in rows of 3. I'm just alternating X's and hearts. If you liked the way this looked right here, you could just stop and then slice it and make whatever you want. I am going to reduce mine down. I do want the pattern to be a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to kind of work on that. And I've reduced mine down to this. You can cut it and kind of like stack them all on top of each other and then reduce it down more. But remember, the further you go, the more of your pattern you're going to lose, which is usually what I end up doing with my canes. But I kind of wanted to stop here, so I still had the pretty pattern and I could see it and understand what it was. Then I'm going to slice off even length pieces. Place those together. I'm just using 4 for mine. You can use as many as you want, depending on how big you want yours to be. Basically, you don't want to thin it out too much, but you do want to kind of burnish it and get all the pieces stuck together. This will kind of distort it a little bit. I kind of liked that. It was, almost intentional looking for the pattern. You can use whatever cutter you want. If you have a heart cutter, a large one, a small one, whatever you want. I'm just gonna freehand it. I know, scary, right? But I was like, it's just clay and I have plenty more if I mess up. So I'm just freehanding it. Just remember, you can cut away more, but you can't put more back. So just try to make your heart, if you are freehanding it, as big as you can. And then you can cut it down if it doesn't quite look right. So I just worked on one side and then come around and do the other. I think it kind of helps to visualize it as you're cutting it or before you're cutting it, and just kind of looking at it if you can do that. And then I was totally shocked that it actually came out this perfect. I did not expect that. So anyway, it's not 100% perfect, but the piece isn't going to be 100% perfect, and we're going to kind of distort it a little bit, so it's going to come out good. You'll need 2 of your cutouts, whatever you choose. And I'm just going to use the template from my first one to cut out my second one. Then I'm going to use a small heart cutter that I actually have. I'm going to place that as close to the center as possible and then cut out a shape. And you can always save the little heart inside and use those for earring studs, which I did. And then since you have your first one done, you can just place it on the second one. And then you can cut out the heart so you have it kind of almost exactly mirror imaged in the same spot. Okay, I'm going to set one of them aside for now. And then I have a bunch of scrap clay from this project. It doesn't matter what color you use, it's going to be hidden. So whatever you have, you want to use regular clay, scrap clay, whatever. Then you would just take that and roll it out into a snake. I've made it to where the ends are a little bit thinner and the middle part is thicker, because you will need the snake clay to be thicker and thinner at certain parts. Basically, we're going to wrap it in this, decide which side you want out, and kind of lay that flat on a work surface. And then your snake clay, just put one of the points down at the bottom. You want to make sure that it is not too big to where when you wrap your clay around it, you're going to be able to see it. Since we're putting one on each side, you just need it to come about halfway up your snake of clay in the middle. It'll kind of make more sense as I'm going. I do need the top part where it bends up and curves over to be a bit thicker. I'm going to cut off all the extra that I don't need. And then with that plumper end, I'm going to kind of roll it down and make it a little bit thinner. You'll kind of have to play with it depending on how big your heart shape cutout is. I had to pinch away a lot of my little snake clay there in the middle and kind of manipulate it to get it to the right thickness I needed. And ultimately, this is kind of what it looks like. Kind of sits directly there in the middle, and I have plenty to wrap up around the sides to about the halfway point. You'll need to make a second one for the opposite side. Lay that on the clay, and then I'm just using this wooden stick to kind of curve that center part up and over towards the back side, wrapping it around. You'll see there it kind of comes up about halfway, and you'll go all the way around in the center. And then when we put on the back half of the heart, it'll finish covering up that center piece. Sorry, I did go off screen there just a little bit, but I do come back. I make a huge comeback, guys. Woo, there I am. It's hard filming and looking down at what you're doing and make sure you're kind of in the shot still. But anyway, just go around, and what's beautiful about this idea is it doesn't have to be perfect. You're gonna be able to see kind of the seam and where things kind of blend and bleed together. I don't know, I kind of like clay like that, where you kind of got that organic feel to it. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. And I will ultimately need to cut off a little bit of the top of that heart. It's gonna be too big for the clay on both sides to kind of wrap around and touch. It's a bit thicker up there. Make sure you get it good around your point at the bottom. Don't worry about blending everything together perfectly. You'll get your back half on there, and then you can kind of manipulate it. And look, it's already coming together. Okay, so now I'm going to put back the other half and going to make a little heart sandwich, if you will. But basically just kind of manipulate it. I know this project may not be for some people. They like to just make a pattern, cut out a shape, and then be done. But this is not really one of those. But I don't know, I thought it was kind of fun. I really enjoyed the heart shape that it made, so you could totally go your own route here and just cut out a shape. It's whatever you feel for that day for your clay. And then you can just blend your seams together. I'm just trying to go as slow as possible. Kind of do like little daps and little taps all over it just to kind of get it all smooth together very gradually. And the seam actually isn't that terrible looking. Looks really good, I think anyway. Well, that's it, and you can play with it and make the shape of your heart, whatever you want to make it, and then bake it. And mine is nice and baked and cooled. I'm going to drill a hole on both sides of my heart, kind of at the top there where it's a bit thicker, just kind of directly across from each other, and that is how I will hang my necklace. I do need to resin my piece. I'm going to resin the very center first. Kind of went about halfway up there. You can see where the shine kind of stops. So I have my middle done, and then I can work on the outer rim. And so that I have something to hold on to, I'm going to glue in my eye hook. You can glue in both at this time if you want, the one on the left and right. And you can have that little ledge to hold on to while you do it. And then you can do the front and the back. I did all of mine together and then I cured it, so it was kind of seamless. And then I just put my necklace together, just my string, and this is it. I really like the way it looks, actually. And you can make a whole bunch since there's probably a lot of cane left. Just have fun with it. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!